So I'm going to be answering some questions about the Space Shuttle Challenge disaster. The first question is, what could NASA have done differently? I think that NASA could have done a lot of things differently. First of all, they could have postponed the launch until the temperature was higher and it was safer for the crew. NASA reached out to engineer Bob Ebeling, and when he posted a memo that was entitled "Help" about his concerns regarding low temperatures and O-rings with the launch, and Bob Ebeling recommended to NASA that they postpone the launch until the temperatures rose in the afternoon. And so they even had a teleconference with vehicle engineers, and that was Bob Ebeling was working for vehicle engineers, and the engineers told them their concerns about the effects of low temperatures on the resilience of the rubber O-rings that sealed the joints of the SRBs, and they recommended to NASA that they postpone the launch. So the O-rings were designated as a critically one component, and that means there was absolutely no backup if both the primary and secondary O-rings failed, and NASA knew that this could potentially kill the crew and destroy the aircrafts if that happened, and they still refused to postpone the launch, and they ended up killing 7 people that day because of their ignorance. The coldest launch that had ever been attempted before this launch had been at 54 degrees Fahrenheit, and the temperature on the day of the launch was below freezing at 28 to 29 degrees Fahrenheit. So it was very ignorant of them to not listen to the multiple engineers that were telling them, hey, this is really dangerous, this could hurt a lot of people, and they still refused to postpone it even until the afternoon when it could have been hotter, or they should have even postponed it for longer until the temperature was just higher. Rockwell engineers were also horrified at the prospect of the launch, and NASA still refused to listen to them. The second question is, what should Roger Boisjoli have done differently, if anything? So Roger Boisjoli predicted that the flight would fail if the shuttle launched in cold weather. He worked for vehicle engineers, and he actually conducted an investigation that predicted the catastrophic events of the liftoff. So after this investigation, he was obviously really concerned about the launch, and he sent a memo describing the problem to his managers, but they apparently ignored him. He repeatedly tried to warn his managers, but no one would listen to him. I personally don't think that he could have done anything differently, because he did everything in his power to warn his managers as well as NASA about what was going to happen. But at the end of the day, NASA held the power, and they simply would not listen to the engineers and what they had to say. So I personally really think that he did everything he could. The last question is, what do you see as your future engineering responsibilities in relation to both being loyal to management and protecting the public welfare? So how I personally see it is, I see protecting the public welfare as a duty to our fellow man. And I think that this is always more important than being loyal to management or any company. People's lives at the end of the day are more important than a company or the way a company looks, and we have to make sure and keep this in mind, because it is very important that as people we are ethical and we help each other out. And 7 people died that day, and their deaths could have easily been avoided. So no company should ever try and convince its employees otherwise and force them into disregarding their values and morals and not protecting each other. So I personally think that's something that we should always keep in mind.